It was actually on the heels of the last live stream I did, and a viewer, Rena, asked, "Dear Lisa, I'm listening to the daughter of a narcissist asks that video. I have to listen to it over and over. Only on the first listen, I had one major question. When we are broken down and trying to heal, is it normal to have or need support from others? If we are left without a home or money or family, and we're stuck in a foreign country, where is the line between validation seeking and the honest need of help? Also, it's really confusing what you're saying because many of us never had justification growing up. Is it normal to be considerate to others and others of us? Like letting someone know why we can't manage to do something. I know I feel very confused when someone says no without expressing their position, especially when we really need understanding, guidance, and support. Gratitude and love. You're amazing, Rena." So, Rena, you raise a very important point, but we always have to remember our base emotional set point. As a codependent who's never felt validated, we are unconscious that we're attracting people who can't validate us. Now, there are some psychological reasons for that, but I think there are also some vibrational reasons for that. If I don't know how to validate myself, then I will attract people who cannot validate me. So then, when I need support, I'm going to be turning to the people who are in my life, who I've already manifested, who already cannot and will not, for whatever reason, validate me. Now you're asking me a bunch of questions, and I can feel and see your confusion, and I totally get it. Because you're saying, when we are broken down and trying to heal, is it normal to have the need of support, to want or need the support from others? Yes, it's normal. If you come from a healthy home, or if you are, just down and out, it is normal to have, if you're a human being, it's normal to have a need, right? For instance, when I was going through my divorce, I felt like I needed my family's support. The problem was, I didn't get it. Didn't get it. And so, was it normal for me to expect my mom and my dad to offer me at least emotional support? Of course it was. Absolutely. So the first question that you're asking is it normal to have a need and expect, is it normal to have a need and want support? Absolutely. Is it healthy to expect someone to support you? I think that's the slippery slope. I think it's absolutely normal to have a need and to want people to support you. I think we get into trouble, whether you're codependent or not, when you expect people to be there for you. My big shtick is trying to teach people how not to attach to an outcome. How to just be who you are, have a need, throw the spaghetti up against the wall, as I like to say. That's the Italian in me. Throw the spaghetti up against the wall. And if that person is able to be there for you, great. But don't attach to the outcome that they will, because you will be crushed when they're not there. So Rena, when we are broken down and trying to heal, is it normal to have the need? You see, the way she writes it, the way you write it, Rena, is it normal to have need of support from others? So it's a very confused, the way you're wording it is very confusing. It is normal to have a need. It would be nice to have the support from others, but that's something that we can't control. So it's normal to have a need, but you have to be careful. The slippery slope is expecting them to be there for you. She asks, if we are left without a home or money or family and we're stuck in a foreign country, where is the line between validation seeking and honest need of help? If you came from a healthy environment, it is normal to expect other people to be there for you. And if you are dealing with healthy people, they will be. But if you come from a dysfunctional home and you are locked inside of dynamics with people who have proven to you that they cannot see you, it is dysfunctional to seek their validation when you are in need. Because this type of dynamic is very unhealthy. And unfortunately, when we are locked in dynamics with people who are hell-bent on invalidating us, like what happened to me. I thought I needed my parents' permission to get divorced. I thought I needed their permission to be unhappy. Really, honestly. I mean, it's crazy. I hear myself saying it, and if that really was my reality, I was miserable, dying of asthma, migraine headaches, you name it. All sorts of horrible things were happening to my body. And yet I believed I needed someone's validation, specifically my mother and father's validation, to say, oh yes, Lisa, you're unhappy. Yes, this relationship is making you sick. It is so horrible to be codependent and to be below the veil of consciousness and not realize that you're seeking other people's validation or permission to feel what you feel. Now the reason we do that is because we've been taught that what we feel is irrelevant. And we're below the veil of consciousness. So we really naturally feel like our feelings, we can't trust them. And so Rena, it really, like I wrote Rena back personally, but I really wanted to address this in a live stream because so many people ask me the same question just in a different way. Yes, dear ones, it's healthy to need, I need my husband, I should be careful. I really want my husband's approval. I really want my husband's validation. But I don't need it in the sense that if I don't get it, I'm going to fall apart. I know that I'm worthy. I know who I am. And I'm hoping that he can mirror that worth back to me. And if he doesn't, I don't take it as a lack in myself. And I really hope I just want to see what some of you guys are chatting about. Hi everybody, I see Michael, Ashley, Claudia, Kayla, Kitty, Kat, Anna. Hi everybody, glad to see you here. I'm just trying to pay attention to my chat right now as well as do this video. So I really just hope, dear one, Rena, that you understand that it's okay to, when you're in a bad way, it's absolutely normal to want people to validate you. But the thing is, we cannot attach to the outcome that these people are going to validate us, that anyone's going to validate us. We have to learn to validate ourselves and continue to honor ourselves and validate ourselves so that we can continue to raise our vibration and attract other people who will ultimately be able to validate us. On my road, I spent a significant time by myself, learning to validate myself. I totally, really cut off a lot of relationships and stopped seeking validation from the people that I knew were hell-bent on not giving it to me. So it is a slippery slope, and in the best case scenarios, you should be able to lean on people. But when you're codependent, in most cases, you've attracted people who refuse to validate you. So seeking that type of validation is not healthy, dear one. I really hope that makes sense to you. So I wanted to go to the next question. Hi Lisa, I wanted to make a video request for the live stream. Being codependent, I have ruined men in relationships, and now I am in a really good place thanks to your books and your videos. I am having new different type of people come to me and want to have friendships with me. But how does a codependent have a relationship? I am so used to having to earn or give something for people to want to be around me. I have no pattern for what a normal relationship would look like. If you can address this, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm so happy to see that you're doing so well. I think this is a very important subject, and you are a great teacher. May you get interviewed by Oprah. She's so cute. Thank you, Kathy. And she's Kathy and None of Your Business, which is a great name. I love it. So, Miss Kathy, being codependent means that we have relationship thought patterns happening within us. Being codependent means that we're below the veil of consciousness, and we are reacting to this subconscious programming, and we're trying to work out, I believe, an attachment trauma. We're constantly trying to get the validation, the maternal validation we never got when we were children. The problem is that we keep attracting the same type of energy beings as the people who traumatized us in the first place. So I am so happy that you are healing from watching these videos and reading the books. I'm just so happy. And I absolutely understand your fear around starting new relationships. And I think it's a legitimate fear. We have to also understand that the brain, I always say it, the brain is not an adventurer. The brain does not like uncharted territory, because The brain likes to feel in control. So the brain will, left to its own resources, right? Left to the skull, right? The brain will keep you in a box because the brain knows what to expect. Even if you're in a dysfunctional situation, your brain will not look to have you get out of that situation, because out of that situation is a situation that represents an unknown. That means the only way for us to effing heal is to wake the hell up, is to understand that the brain is a tool and it's designed to keep us stuck. It really, really is. It is not designed to push us forward. We have to raise a level of self-awareness. We have to raise our ability to be able to observe the self in order to really help the brain become integrated, to help both hemispheres work together and become synchronistic. We have to work towards healing cognitive dissonance. That is the goal. We are a trinity, and that leads me to wanting to read you guys something. And today on my Facebook page, I noticed a couple of people talked about my book, Codependent Now What? It's Not You, It's Your Programming. And they specifically referred to number 8, which is one of my 12 keys to recovery. And I want to read this to you. And when you guys go back and watch this live stream event again, you'll understand what the hell I'm talking about. So, number 8, honor self more. When you feel a feeling, honor it. This does not imply that when we get cut off on the highway and we feel rage due to suddenly finding ourselves in a fear of possibly being involved in a car accident, we chase the driver down and curse him or her out. It means that when we feel the rage, we accept it and we honor it. We allow it to surface without reacting to it. Honoring a feeling happens in the conscious realm. Without reacting to it, detached from the big picture we are trying to create in our lives. The self does not ooze out of your body and sit across from you at your kitchen table to discuss how you are feeling. Your self speaks to you through your emotional body. It is helpful to understand that the Trinity is you. You are the body, the mind, and the spirit, the soul, or the self. Your body is a consequence of this time-space reality we call the earthly experience. To play on planet Earth, you need a body that is equipped with the central nervous system and central computer. Within your divine, magical, electrical suit is housed your most divine aspect of you, yourself. The body truly is your temple. You must see clearly that although your body is your temple, your mind or your central command station may be corrupt. Your body will never lie to you because it is connected to the universe through its electrical system. Your heart beats and so does the earth. Your body goes through cycles just as the earth does. Your body experiences seasons very similarly to planet Earth. Your emotional body is divine, and when you learn to trust its guidance, you are literally listening to your inner guide seeking to escort you away from pain and toward more fulfilling life experiences. You, dear one, have simply been brainwashed to mistrust the cues from the divine self. This book has been created to help you get back on track and stay on course so you can merge with the light within you. Now, very, very important that we learn to understand that our inner cues, our self, our inner being is constantly trying to tell us what direction we should go in and what direction we should avoid. The problem is that the brain also has certain reflexes, like the pain versus pleasure reflex. So what we need to do is become aware of how the brain works. And those of you who have taken my program and are in my program, you have either learned about this very, very well, or you're about to learn about it. So if when you were a little girl, you were a little boy, you cried, you were abused, what ends up happening is you associate pain with crying. You also associate pain with feeling. That's why so many codependents have such a hard time figuring out what they feel, because your brain associates pain with feeling. That's why I said earlier, your brain will keep you inside the skull, inside that box. These videos, these live streams, my books, everything that I do, my big mouth all over YouTube, the articles, the books that I write. I'm trying to get you guys to awaken to the reality that you can learn to observe the way your brain works. You can learn to observe the programs that keep you stuck. So, for instance, with Rena would have to learn how to become observing of the people that she's asking for help from. So if you're down and out and you're reaching out to people who have always pushed you away, that's dysfunctional. That's actually a pattern. So only if you're able to observe this pattern in yourself will you be able to change it. You cannot change a pattern you don't see. You cannot fix a problem you don't know, you can't identify. So if you can label it, you can fix it. So that's why understanding what's really, really going on is subconscious programming and a level of unconsciousness that all of us are victim to before we have an awakening. Now, the other thing to understand, dear ones, is that the awakening happens in layers, right? And we're always at different levels of awareness. So when you were 6 hours old out of the womb, you had a particular level of awareness, a particular perspective, okay? When you were 1, you had a particular perspective. When you were 12, you had another perspective. As you can see, your perspective about self and life is always in flux. Awakening implies that what's happening is you're becoming awakened to unconsciousness or to a sleep state. When I was a codependent and I was stuck in my dynamics, I was asleep. I thought I was awake because I was this animated human being. I had this brain. And I didn't understand that my awareness, my point of focus, was being filtered through a level of unawareness. I wasn't awake. I didn't understand that you could live below the veil of consciousness, as I like to say, or you can live above the veil of consciousness. Now, these layers above the veil of consciousness, what you'll experience as you stay on the enlightened journey is that your ability to be self-aware will improve and improve and improve. And then some days you'll dip because consciousness or your level of awareness is something that is able to, it occurs in layers. So you can be highly, highly aware one moment, and then you can be vacuuming and be not so aware. That's normal. It's all about our focus. So I really want to encourage you to understand that your evolution of mind it happens on a continuum. And there are days that you'll be highly, highly aware, and then there'll be days that you will not be highly aware, and that's okay. It's all about understanding the process and seeking higher ground each and every time you discover that maybe you dipped a little bit. Don't judge yourself. Life really is a ride. The world is a playground, seriously. And at the end of the day, everything's going to be fine. This is an opportunity to learn about evolving our minds and beyond what we think is important. It's about evolving past the ego and learning to understand that we really are not the center of the universe. That as many people as there are on planet Earth, there are that many universes or perceptions of being the center of the universe. And when you understand that an ant has a perspective, an ant, think about all the ants in the world. Every ant thinks it's the center of the universe. Every butterfly thinks it's the center of the universe. We live in a multidimensional plane, and we have to learn to understand all these different perspectives. And as we do, we really let go of this idea that we need to take things so personally. We really learn to let go of the idea that we need one another's validation. We really don't. To grow in a healthy way, we needed that validation in childhood from our mothers and our fathers. And when we didn't get it, we became codependent. When we didn't get it, we attracted narcissists. When we didn't get it, we became reactive codependents. That's what happens. But all of you here today, and so many people out there, light workers, and so many people who are on the enlightened path, seeking enlightenment, they're beginning to understand that there is a better way, that you can actually break free from seeking validation outside the self and learn to validate yourself, because ultimately you are enough, which is really cool. Okay, So I want to get to another question, and I need my glasses because I'm getting older and older and older, but that's okay. So this comes from, actually her name is not on this, but that's okay. She writes, oh actually her name is Tina. She writes, for 12 years I've been living with and married to a man who can be labeled a narcissist or who has very strong traits, explained in all the videos. Well, recently I finally got the courage to say enough, so I'm done. I'm ready to move on. Since that day, 1 month ago, he has been crying, going to AA, back to a psychologist, and being the perfect husband and father. And I feel nothing. All these years of crying myself to sleep, trying, hoping one day this would come, and now I don't want to even try. I need to mention that I have 3 wonderful children under the age of 11. I'm feeling dead inside. Can't move forward to forgive. Not really stuck in what happened in the past, or maybe I am. Seems like the dance you speak of. Please, I know you're busy, but I need advice. So this is from Miss Tina. Miss Tina, this is such a common issue for codependents. And many of you will agree with me that when you are a codependent, and let's say you marry somebody, you marry them below the veil of consciousness, unaware that you're trying to be everything they want you to be, and trying to please them. And after 13 years and 3 kids later, and your husband's in AA, which means he's an alcoholic, God only knows what you've had to tolerate because of the alcoholism, you end up being completely and emotionally, energetically drained. There's like nothing left. And I went through something similar. Many of my personal coaching clients have gone through something similar, where it's like now when I'm finally ready to walk out the door and take the kids with me, now you suddenly want to go into therapy? I had one person, tell me that it was the worst thing that ever could have happened to her because she really was so done, and she felt like it was the meanest thing her husband could have done, because it was like it made her feel like he always knew what he should have been doing, and on some level he was deliberately not doing it, which sucks. I mean, here you are, a mom with 3 kids, and you're complaining and complaining and complaining because you're trying to get on the same page, and it's going in one ear and out the other. And finally, when you're dry as a bone emotionally, you don't even want to look at him anymore. Now all of a sudden, he's doing what he should have done 13 years ago. It drives you crazy, and it makes you very angry because it's not what you wanted. You didn't want to get a divorce. You didn't want it to get this bad. I try to, when I coach couples, I try to explain, this is a very common phenomenon between women and men. And in this situation, when women are complaining to their husbands kind of like, yeah, shut up, they want to tune her out. But what men don't understand is while a woman is still complaining, that means she's still got some mojo left for you. Am I right, ladies? If I'm complaining to my husband because I want to get on the same page with him, because I want to have a date night with him, or I want to go into therapy with him, it means I've got some juice left for this guy. When a woman stops complaining to her husband, she's done. There's no mojo left. It's like you've exhausted her. And I'm sure it's the same for men. I know it's the same for men, as a matter of fact. I have a family member who's going through something similar. So it is absolutely very, very important that couples that are watching this live stream, and I do have a couple of couples who told me that they were going to be watching it together, we have to understand that when one of us is complaining to the other about wanting to get on the same page, that means there is absolutely still some gusto and some love left for the partner. When that one partner is silenced, you're pretty much done. I mean, Tina, I don't know what your husband's going to have to do to try to get you back, because it sounds like you've been crying, and I mean, I totally get how it's nearly impossible now to absolutely wake any type of energy up in you for this man, because he's probably exhausted it. So now, you're asking me, you want my advice. I'm going to give you my advice. I'll give you my opinion, but understand it's really, everybody's different, and you really have to trust your own instincts on this one, girl. But trust how you feel. If there's nothing left, that's okay. If there's nothing left, that's normal. It's sort of like you've had this bleeding artery, and at any point in time, he could have offered you a tourniquet. Or he could have said, I hear you, I see you, I know that you're bleeding. But because he's part of this relationship, and because he never gave back, at least that's what it sounds like, or because he exhausted you or took you for granted, he never stopped the bleeding. So now really, in terms of your love for him and your compassion for him and your ability as a codependent to care about his feelings, it's literally exhausted, dear one. It really is. Codependents, eventually, most of them, have a threshold where they're done. Now, this is the problem. And my nose is getting itchy, dear ones. That always happens to me. Forgive me. But what happens when a codependent is done with their relationship is usually the person that's pushed them so far away begins to sense that lack of validation that's coming from you, which they rely on. So oftentimes in this type of a dynamic, when, let's just say for argument's sake, and I know men, I'm not saying it's not the other way around, but I'm just saying I'm going to use the female as the codependent and the man as a narcissist as an example, just to make it easy to understand. And then you can interchange the roles if you like in your own mind. But when you have a codependent woman or a codependent spouse who is seeking the validation of the other spouse, what ends up happening is the other spouse gets to play and gets to hide, because there is validation that is constantly being thrown his way. And the narcissist, or the avoiding codependent, I don't really know if he's a narcissist or he's an avoidant, gets to really not have to get too involved with the relationship, because the codependent is constantly managing the relationship and constantly up his ass and constantly, how are you, honey, and constantly talking and constantly seeking validation and constantly trying to be the perfect wife and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah, and trying to perform. So the narcissist or the avoidance is good girl, good girl. Now, what narcissists or avoidants do is they withhold that type of praise, because they're enjoying you chasing after them. Now, when the codependent has had enough, I'm done, I'm just tired, I'm done, you want to ignore me, I'm done, there's nothing left. When that happens there's a great break in the energy. So now the avoidant doesn't feel this energy coming towards him anymore, because the codependent is done. The codependent is literally almost dead. So now, just to save the self, the codependent now has in her mind, now associates great pain with throwing herself at the feet of the narcissist. It just doesn't work. Her physical body now has registered the consequence of the dynamic, and the brain has hit a milestone, and the brain says, no more, it doesn't work. Now, another big issue that we codependents face is that our threshold for bullshit is so high, that we can stay, like I did, 12, 13 years in a relationship that does not feed you at all. You can stay because your threshold for being ignored is so high. So here, Tina, you stayed in this marriage for 13 years and you have 3 children, which means you, like me, unfortunately, your threshold for pain is very, very high. And when your brain finally had enough, and probably because you have kids and life is really busy right now, and the demands are ridiculous, I get it, girl. Just taking care of a house with 3 kids that are going to school. Oh my God, homework? Hello. Parent-teacher conferences? Oh my God, seriously. It's hard. Raising kids is hard. It's exhausting, and motherhood is selfless, and fatherhood is selfless. You're always giving, always giving. So your brain finally associated just too much damn pain with trying to get his validation. So there was a switch, almost like a switch went off in your brain where it's like, I'm done. Your brain no longer, Tina, I hope you're getting your name right. Yes, I am. Your brain no longer associates unconscious pleasure with seeking this man's validation. So in order for him to actually be able to swoon you back, something's going to have to truly take place in him for you and your brain to associate pleasure with being with him moving forward. You're talking about trust. You're talking about humility. Your husband is going to have to get humble and stay humble and acknowledge that he has hurt you. The only way that you can really save this marriage is if emotionally and cognitively, in your bones, you acknowledge that this man understands what his alcoholism or his love avoidance style has caused you on an emotional level. Because you are not going to be able to let him into your heart. Your brain is not going to be able to associate pleasure with having him with you, again, unless he is able to convince your brain through logic and reason that he sees you. Because you got into trouble because he didn't see you. And below the veil of consciousness, you were still seeking his validation even though he couldn't see you. Now that you've woken up and your brain says, too much pain, I can't do this anymore, really out of survival, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. The only way for him to be able to salvage this is if he's able to wake up to himself, right? He's got to be able to see himself. Remember, alcoholism is a disease that tells people they don't have a damn disease, okay? Alcoholics are people generally who have told themselves, I don't have a problem. That's why they continue to drink. And our society doesn't help because so much of our society and so much of our social interactions today are, if not centered around alcoholism or drinking, drinking is a part of our socialization. So we also have to understand that our society at large does not take drinking seriously, and yet it is a very serious issue. Very serious issue. When you cannot relate to an alcoholic who is active in their alcoholism. And if you're dealing with an alcoholic who is going to AA, but they think that this is the other issue with alcoholics. Oh my God. It gets me excited. If you were dealing with an alcoholic who thinks that all they have to do is go to an AA meeting and not drink, that's wrong, okay? That's not enough. I come from a long line of alcoholics, and that's their story. I go to an AA meeting, and I don't drink. I'm healed. No, dear one, no. We've got to get to the reason why you needed to drink and escape. And why, okay, it could be biological. I know my family, I come from a long history, and it's true. Our brain cells might react more to alcoholism in a kind of like a high way than someone else who doesn't come from alcoholism. It's all the way your brain responds. It's about receptors and cells in your brain. That could be genetic, absolutely. That's fine, but that needs to be addressed. An alcoholic needs to understand, yes, alcoholism was a problem for me. I come from a long line of alcoholics. I know that I need to avoid it. And now I also have to deal with any kind of codependency that I came from. If my father was an alcoholic, that means I'm an adult child of an alcoholic. I have to deal with those ACOA issues so that I know why I have to refrain from drinking alcohol. I want to know why I became an alcoholic. So it's not enough, dear one, for your husband to be going to AA and not to drink, because that doesn't solve the core issue, which was love avoidance, not seeing you, his need to avoid conflict by drinking, or his inability to appreciate what his drinking did to the kids, or how his drinking affected you, and how alone and abandoned you felt as the wife of an alcoholic. All those issues have got to be brought up. It's not enough to stop drinking. So anybody who has had to live with an alcoholic knows what I'm talking about. Anybody who was an alcoholic and is in recovery, and you're doing this type of work, that tells me that you're understanding that what you need to know is why I was drinking. Why was I drinking? It's probably not your fault. I have clients How could it not? How could you not drink if you came home every day after school and your mother was passed out on the couch, and your father was drinking, and your big brother drank, and nobody's dealing with their problems? How could you as a child? It's a miracle if you as a child of that environment don't now pick up a bottle of booze when you get upset. Because it's all, lots of times, alcoholism and drug addiction and even love addiction is all a product or a symptom of the environment that we grew up in. If you have a mom who is a love addict and all she cares about is her relationships with men, and she's pushed you to the side, she's taught you as a young female, she hasn't been there for you as a little girl, and now here you are 11 or 12, what are you doing? You're looking for love in all the wrong places. That's not your fault, dear one. That's not your fault. That's a symptom. That's a consequence of growing up in this house. If your mother was a rager and a screamer and a yeller, if your mother acted manic, and now you're 11, 12, 13, 14, or 25, I don't care how old you are, if now when you get stressed, you respond similarly, that's a product of your environment. How could it be any other way? How can a child who comes from a dysfunctional home, whose parents didn't know how to deal with stress, how could that child learn to deal with stress? It's impossible. It doesn't even make any sense. A bigger issue that I think that we need to start dealing with in our country is we're sending little kids to school every day who go home to drunk mommies and drunk daddies, or crack addicted mommies and daddies, or God only knows what. Our kids, children in the school system today, how can these babies learn when their brains, their developing brains, are being affected by the lack of nurturing in the home? That alone. A child's brain is affected by the level of nurturing or the quality of nurturing that comes from the people who are raising him or her. So if a child isn't being nurtured, that's going to affect that baby's ability to learn. That's a learning disorder? I'm sorry. I think that's a symptom of what's happening in the house. Just my opinion. And I think that we need to begin really understanding what's the home like behind this child's face and behind this child's heart. We need to not judge the child's ability to score well or not. We need to understand what factors are affecting that child's brain. And what's affecting that child's brain, first and foremost, is what this child's witnessing at home. So rather than label children as having learning disorders of this, that, and the other, I think before we slap a label on some poor kid who's having a hard time learning, we really need to understand what's going on at home. And there are some children who have learning disorders that it's true. It's about processing. I get it. It could be about neural wiring. I get it. And I'm not blaming the parents, but I'm talking about homes that could use a little help. And I'm talking about poor children who are getting labeled, who are coming from dysfunctional homes. I really do think as a society, it's something that we should at least investigate. At least investigate. And then offer the families, and then offer the children the right kind of help. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion on that one. So in terms of how do we have healthy relationships coming off of being codependent, you have to trust your feelings, dear one. There's the Italian. You have to trust your feelings. You have to learn that it's awesome that you're avoiding people who have not been able to mirror back to you what's happening inside of you. Remember, when you're out and about these days as a recovering codependent, you're paying attention to people, the way they speak to you. So if you're at lunch with a friend and you say, oh yeah, I got a call from my mom, she was like out of her mind the other day, and your friend says something like, oh, did I tell you about my sister? Your friend, it didn't land. It didn't land. Just notice it. Just observe the way she communicates with you. Just write it down in your mind. Okay, she blew me off. Okay, now I tried to tell her about me. I tried to share myself with her, right? And she couldn't see me. So that's an issue. If I was out to lunch with that person, and I've had lunch with that person many times, to tell you the truth, I observe that now. And then I used to get upset, like, oh my God, Actually, there was a time where I used to just cater to that type of behavior. Oh, okay, tell me. And I would ignore myself. So now I was attracting people who ignored me because I was ignoring myself. As I began to become more aware and above the veil of consciousness and more self-observing, I would have lunch, let's say with someone like this. I would say something, I would volley forward, and then I would notice how that person was able to volley back or not. And what I would do is just write it down in my little head, and I spent less and less time with that type of a person. So I just learned to turn the cheek and walk away. I didn't blame her. I didn't judge her. I just said, not my vibrational match anymore. Not the kind of friend or person that I really want to spend my precious time on earth with, especially since every breath is limited. There's just so many breaths that you will take, so many breaths that I will take. And I just decided, becoming super, super self-responsible, not a person that I wish to hang out with so often. So I turned the cheek and walked away. So dear one, to answer your question, because I think I'm going back and forth and I apologize, but to answer your question about how do you have friendships with people now that you're non-codependent, I want you to begin understanding that you must tune into yourself, must honor yourself, and begin feeling your feelings. And if you're with someone and you don't feel like they can see you and they can feel you, just spend less time with that person. And just keep honoring yourself. Focus on the things that make you happy. Focus on raising your vibration. And then as new people come into your life, see how you feel around them. Volley back and forth. Hold on to yourself. Never, ever, ever, ever share your feelings with someone who you feel is narcissistic. Because that person that's like blood to a shark in water. A narcissist is trying to play with your feelings. So if you have attracted people in the past who abuse you, then you have to know you have to shut yourself down around them and protect your inner child. Protect yourself. So I hope that helps you. I got a question from Holland that I would really like to get to. So she writes, "Hi Lisa, I'm a codependent woman from Holland and I am watching your YouTube videos all the time. I have a question because I'm confused. Does the subconscious mind understand the word not, doesn't, and etc.? The negative words, I mean. The unconscious mind sees pictures and emotions. According to my coach, it is not a good idea saying to yourself you are not guilty or it is not your fault. It is better to say that you are innocent or blameless. Your mind sees only the words guilty or fault. It does not hear the word not. In your videos, you say things like, it is not your fault. You are not responsible for your parents' pain. I know what you mean, but does my unconscious mind understand it too? My coach says, my unconscious mind only hears, it is your fault. Have you heard about this theory? What is your opinion? I hope you can help me with this. In love and light, Ingrid." So, I'm going to read you my response to Ingrid first, and then I'm going to expand. "Hi Ingrid, I have heard this theory, but I do not agree with it entirely. The subconscious mind only accepts information. It will not argue with it. So if you felt like your parents could not or did not love you, and your tiny inner being felt like it was your fault, your subconscious mind will accept this as truth. When we are trying to heal the subconscious mind, I believe we must confront these misconceptions about things being our fault head on. So when I say it is not your fault, your subconscious mind accepts that information. This is a slippery slope many do not understand, and oftentimes coaches and even licensed mental health professionals talk about this topic with ambiguity. It is better to say, I can eat healthier today, than it is to say, I will not eat like crap today. The mind needs direction because it is action-based and goal-based. This is why telling the mind not to do something does not work. But telling your subconscious mind it is not your fault should not be equated with a theory about not telling your mind to do something. I hope you can see the distinction. At any rate, telling the mind it is not your fault works. Your subconscious mind can hear that much needed message loud and clear. All my love, Lisa A. Romano." So I just want to, for any of you guys that are out there, and you can just let me know if you've heard about this, where there are therapists and neuropsychologists and alike saying that the subconscious mind does not recognize the word not. And I get it, but here's my spin on it. I think and I believe that the subconscious mind is goal-oriented. So that means if I say, I am not, if I say I am not going to eat pizza, it is better for me to say I will eat healthier today, because I am not going to eat pizza. The brain, that's not a direction really. I am or I will eat healthier. You can feel the flow in that. You can feel like I will do this. There's a direction in this, right? So I will not eat pizza is sort of like a dead statement. The subconscious mind really doesn't do well with dead statements. But here's the thing. You can't take this theory of the subconscious mind doesn't understand the word not and throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't do that, because the subconscious mind believes what it's experienced through repetition, observation, and consistency. As those of you who are in my program and took my program, you know that the subconscious mind believes you. So when you were told by your mother, I don't love you, I should have never had you, those are negative statements, and the subconscious mind accepts them. Now, I am very sorry that Ingrid's coach is telling her that telling your brain that it's not your fault doesn't work. I believe that Ingrid's coach is mistaken. And I understand why the coach would be confused. But I wanted to use this as an opportunity to clear it up, because it is such a fine line, and I think that it's really, really important that we really laser through it the best that we can. And it isn't easy to explain, and I'm really just hoping that it's landing well so you guys understand it. So if you want to use this theory to your advantage in terms of eating better or dealing with the narcissist, like I am not going to call him, right? So that's where this theory would apply. I am not going to call the narcissist. I am not going to answer the text. Okay, that's a dead statement. So a better statement might sound something like, when he calls, I am going to go for a walk. Okay, that's not a dead statement. That's a command. That's a direction. Now, my brain knows what to do when I get a text from a narcissist. I got a text, and now I'm going to go for a walk. So there's direction in that. So that's where this coach's idea and opinion will come into play. So it's much, much better to give your brain a place to go rather than to cut it off with a dead statement. Now, statements like I am worthy versus it's not my fault, I get it. It is my affirmation books, Loving the Self affirmation books. It's all about I am worthy and I am enough. True statement, we need to hear that. But it's like we have to also heal the subconscious wound, which is I am not enough, right? We also have to heal the shame, okay? There's shame. We feel shame because we think it's our fault that we were unloved, okay? So what we have to do is we need to address that by saying, it's not my fault. That is I feel that's about ironing out a wrinkled neural pathway or ironing out a wrinkled thought process. Because many of us, okay, and those of you, if you want, you can give me a shout out right now and let me know. Do you guys suffer with feeling like it's your fault? I know many of us feel, I know that many people that I've coached, including myself, even my sister and my own brother, that lack of bond that we have with our parents, we felt like it was our fault. You know, it was our fault that we couldn't gain this much needed love and validation. So it's very, very important that we address the initial wound. It's not your fault. Your inner being and your brain really doesn't know that it's not your fault. So that is a correction that needs to be made. Then on top of that, it's not my fault. Then what we have to do is we layer another thought. I am enough. I am enough because at the moment of my conception, I became life incarnate. And life is beautiful and it's miraculous. So many of you are saying, that's awesome that you're getting it. I love it. So someone just wrote, Shelley, thank you, Lisa. I'm listening and appreciate you taking the time to help figure this insanity out. I'm glad to do it because what's happening right here and right now is something so beautiful. And what's happening is we are decluttering the mind. And on a very deep level, what we have to understand is that the battle that we need to face is an emotional one. Okay? Every fight that someone has, every war is emotional. It's about fear, right? So if we bomb another country, it's because of some fear. There's a sense of powerlessness there. There's some sense of fear there, right? So fear you can equate, in my opinion, we'll say that fear is a lack vibration. The only way that we can heal really is if we raise our vibration. So fear is like a dank, heavy emotion. It literally has this dankness to it. And what we're all trying to do today, and always, all of you here, I know it, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be following my work. You wouldn't be in the program. You wouldn't be reading my books. And you wouldn't be on YouTube looking to find your healing. What we're really trying to do is alleviate and minimize this dank energy, right? The only way that we can do that is by confronting our fear, okay? When we are ironing out all of these funky thought processes, that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking a thought that was leading us down into a rabbit hole, and we're correcting it. Now, my spiel is that we've always gotten into trouble because we have been brainwashed to believe unhealthy ideas. You know, I was brainwashed to believe in the lack of money. My father told us often, we don't have money, money doesn't grow on trees. You know, I used to hear things like, who do you think you are? You know, if I wanted something, I was labeled wrong and selfish for wanting. And so what happened was I was a kid that grew up and I settled for what showed up. I didn't want. I didn't even know I didn't want. I didn't even know that. I remember I was standing on a street corner in Manhattan with my husband, Anthony, and this car drove by and he said, oh, I'm going to have that car one day. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God. And he said, what? And I said, I don't do that very often. He said, what? I said, I don't want. I don't want. So now I understand that because I was very limited in my wanting, I so limited myself in wanting something. Because wanting something, I didn't realize, was equated to selfishness. It was equated to selfishness in my brain. So I equated selfishness, which is a negative vibration, which is a lack and a fear vibration. And that's when I was like, screw that, I'm going to want everything now. Because wanting is an abundant vibration. And on the surface, it looks like it's just about stuff, but it's not, dear one. Below the surface, it's all about changing your vibration. It's all about becoming a lighter body. You know, it's all about really, really loving and appreciating the life force that you are. Since the moment of your conception, the cells and the life cells, the life and the cells that make you you, right, have done nothing but multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply. Your body is constantly evolving. Every cell in your body it lives for a certain time, but it's always in a state of transition. Everything about you is in a state of transition. It is absolutely incredible. So when we become awakened, we begin to appreciate that is why you were born. You were born to overcome the dark energies. Now, the dark energy gets played out between our ears. It gets played out in our mind. You know, I like to use metaphors, and I really appreciate symbolism. And almost everybody has seen a picture of Christ with the crown of thorns on his head. And in my opinion, the crown of thorns represent this pain and this chaos in our twisted neural wiring. And once we begin to understand who we really are, and we truly are source incarnate, we are extensions of Creator, absolutely. And we get to create with your own hands. You can create with your own heart and within your own mind. But this is where most people fail. Most people fail because they don't focus on their desired outcome long enough until it manifests. That's where it's not that you cannot manifest a desired reality, it's that you abandon your desired reality for one reason or another before it actually manifests. So I am someone who figured that out a long time ago, where I'm just going to focus on it. And what's happened to me on my life is that my ideas and my desires have expanded. So when I was a single mom, my focus was, being able to put my kids through private school, and that was my focus. And I did it. I got that outcome. And then my desired outcome was to finish the basement, because I had a dirt basement. And then I got that outcome. And then it was, I'm going to finish this book. It took me 12 years to finish The Road Back to Me, but I finished it. So as I've moved on in my life, I can see where when I completely focused on something, I always got it. The first day I laid eyes on my first husband, I said to my best friend, not kidding, I'm going to marry him. Son of a bitch, I married him. So if you will be honest with yourself and think back to the times in your life where you absolutely refused to let go of something that you wanted, I can guarantee you if you did not let go, you got what you wanted. Good or bad. It could have been a dysfunctional boyfriend. It could have been a dysfunctional relationship. You didn't know it was dysfunctional, you just wanted the relationship, but you got the relationship. So it's interesting. So what I want you to, if you wanted a job, if you stayed steadfast, or you wanted a degree, and you stayed steadfast, you got that degree. You got that job. So what I'm hoping that all of you do here today is I really hope that you begin expanding your wants, expanding your desires. And on the surface, it might look like it's just about stuff, but it's not. On a deeper surface, it's about raising your vibration. And it's about you facing the fear inside of you that you're not enough and that you're not deserving. The more you desire and open yourself up to wanting, the more you desire that, and the more you allow yourself to want, and the more you stay steadfast on creating your desired reality, the more you heal. And as you heal, that's how you are able to sort of overcome or help rid the world of an aspect of dark energy. For every single idea that is in you that gets healed, there's a ripple effect, there's a butterfly effect. It helps your house feel lighter, it helps the people. When you become non-codependent, you stop caring what people think about you. So you're less argumentative. You're not looking for trouble anymore. Your whole office, your household, your animals, everybody benefits when you understand that you are enough. It's awesome. It really, really is awesome. But your challenge, dear ones, is to be able to stay steadfast on your desired outcome. So no matter what life throws at you, you have to hold true to a couple of key ideas. You are enough. This crap that's been downloaded into your brain is not you. Your minimal level of awareness has been reading this data unaware that it could read something else or create something else. When you don't know that you're unaware, you're unaware. But what happens is your point of attraction or your point of focus, it's not your fault or your level of awareness's fault that it has been reading a stream of data that is bullshit. When you are unawake, when you are asleep, you are reading the data that has been programmed in your subconscious mind, which is bullshit. And that's not your fault. And I believe that it's my mission on earth to help those of you who give a crap about healing and who have found resonance with my work. It's my purpose to help get you across that bridge. It's my purpose on earth to help those of you who resonate with my work finish your mission, which is to become awake to the Creator within you, to help you become aware that it's not your fault if you have been living below the veil of consciousness, so that you can help heal yourself and thus the world. Right along with me. Thank you so much for being an amazing audience today. I'm going to go through these chats, as soon as this live stream is done. And again, namaste. Anybody's interested in my coaching program, check it out, www.lisaaromano.com. You can get in on it until September 15, 2016. I will not be having it, I will not make it available until 2017 sometime. So namaste, everybody. Love you. Bye.